everybody. Today I have a new story that I, again, haven't heard before. And I'm so excited to read it with you. It's called Moosetache. Instead of mustache, it's called Moosetache. Why do you think it's called that? It's because there's a moose here. I'm guessing the main character in this story is a moose. So Moosetache, and our author is Margie Palatini, and the pictures are by Henry Cole. Ooh, that's a really big mustache. Let's see what happens in this story. I can't wait. I love hearing new stories. All right. Whoa, it's a big mustache. Moose had a problem, a horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A moustache. Boy, do you think that moustache would cause some problems? Now, not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble. No mere weak, wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No siree. Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty moustache. But a moustache that was a burly, surly, mangly mess, and it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked, he tweezed, he even clipped and snipped and teased, but his comb were still cowards, and his brushes rebelled. His scissors simply surrendered. Oh man, so it's even too much for the brush and the comb and the scissors? Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The moustache was completely crimping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely hop and hip-hop with a moustache going flip-flop. Oh boy, so it's really getting in his way of all of his dancing. He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flambe his souffle with all of those whiskers in his way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with the mighty moustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? All right, so there seems to be a little bit of a problem in this story. What is the problem so far? Is it that Moose's moustache is getting in the way of his life? His dancing, his cooking, his skiing. So when there's a problem, someone tries to solve the problem. Let's see. After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crossed some hairs here, he crossed some hairs there, and he tied his moustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. Ooh, so what's he trying to do to solve his problem? He's turning his moustache into a scarf. I love scarves. I'm always so cold. Maybe it'll help him. But then, when I hear a but, I know it didn't work. But then his moustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled, and those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that moustache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied and unwrapped and unknotted and, he gulped in the fresh air. All right, so he tried. He tried to fix it by making a scarf. Did it help? No, because then he couldn't breathe. And it got knotted and mangled. That means all twisted up. I think I skipped a page. Here we go. He got another idea. All right, so he's not giving up. He's using persistence and he's being determined. Let's see. He got another idea. He parted some hairs this way, he parted some hairs that way, and he heaped all that moustache on top of his head. Moustachioed antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was simple, it was so easy, so perfectly fit. Until a squadron of squirrels and one very noisy gopher moved right into the Moose Hotel. They huddled and hoarded, furried in, burrowed out. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. Eek. So he put this all up on top of his head, but then the squirrels and the gophers moved right in. They thought it was a good home for them. Well, that didn't work. Good try. A very, very noisy and very noisy. The squirrely chit-chatting squeals and squawks woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And that gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed his sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Moostachio antlers? Nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and unpiled and untwisted and untwined and said adios to those hairy horns. Well, it was a good try. When you have a problem, you try different ways to solve it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Keep trying. Now what? What? The miserable moose took a hold of a hunk of hair and he wrestled it. Then he roped it. He tethered it. He tied it. He tamed it. Aha! A moose tail. Now that was simple. That was easy. That was not so perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backward, forward, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. So instead of a girl's ponytail being in the back of her head or a boy with long hair, he had to make it in front of his head because that's where your mustache is. And then there was this big ponytail in front of his face. He couldn't see. It would be like this. Be like Mrs. Chesterfield taking her hair. We'll see if I can do this. All right, and doing like one right here. And look, I can hardly see you. That's what it would have been like. Crazy. And so he thought and he thought and thought some more, but no idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother. A moustache sweater? Too sweltering. A net? Not. Poor Moose. His problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. He felt so alone. He didn't know what else to do. Then, call it fate, call it destiny. It was probably just luck. But one day, Moose tripped on his mustache and just had no time to duck. Oomph! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped. Then they blinked. Then they stared. And their hearts went thump-a-thump. She was a moose with a bouffant of bodacious, outrageous, well, it was just plain old big. A bouffant is like a big hairdo on top of your head. Hair after hair piled higher than high, a skyscraping dew of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely superb. Oh boy, I think he found a lady friend. I wonder if she'll help him. Maybe she's a hairdresser. Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a do. Miss Moose winked and then whispered, just a little glue. So she helped fearlessly plunge a hoof into a fat pot of white goopy goop. And carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped and they plopped and they pasted and they pressed. They coaxed and they curled every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and they twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangy mess was now a wondrous, winding wave of marvelous Moosetache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled a broad, moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, so giddy with glee. He looked dashing and handsome. Moose gushed, "Is that really me?" Oh my goodness, so she took all that glue and she must be smushing it together. Maybe so the whiskers aren't flying everywhere and loose. Just kind of glue like this, gluing them together. Huh, maybe that'll help my static when my hair gets all staticky with some glue. You might see me with a glued head when you see me again. With not a care for one hair, the moose pair boogied and bopped. They skied downhill, they skied uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. Oh, look, it's not getting in the way anymore. Look, he has it all twisted. So the glue, maybe it's like gel or like hairspray, it sticks it and then it won't get all in his face. Oh my gosh, I love, what a solution. What a way to solve a problem. So, of course, it wasn't long after that Moose and his Moosetache and his beautiful bride foxtrotted and tangoed and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days. They vowed to love and to cherish, and with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do," glue, and promised never to part. Boy, so he solved his Moosetache problem, and he got a beautiful moose wife. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, and it stuck. So let me show you these ones real close. So look, looks like they're on vacation. They have some sunglasses. Looks like they had a moose baby. Let's see down here. Oh, that must be moose baby somewhere. And there's their whole family. Oh, I love it. So the great idea of some glue, all from running into somebody who helped him solve his problem after he tried and tried and tried. That was a really cool book. I really liked that one. So Moosetache, you can see how yucky and messy it was at the beginning, and then at the end it was all nicely glued. Cool. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed that story along with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Have a good one. Enjoy this